surround yourself with others that are doing what you want to do, right? Find those people and, connect with them. And you can read a ton of books and, you listen to these podcasts, digest a lot of stuff. Eventually you need to start having like conversations, right? Or the doing. And that's when a lot of the learning and stuff happens.
Welcome everyone to the Road Less Traveled Show. This is a show about people that were successful in a previous career and left that career to go down a different path. I'm your co-host, Richard Coyne.
And I'm your co-host, Bill Zahller.
On today's show, we're so pleased to have Marcus Long with us. Marcus, welcome.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate you having me and looking forward to sharing with your audience today.
Absolutely, Marcus. Well, thank you again for being on the Road Less Traveled Show. To start with, can you tell our audience a little bit about your background and how long you were in that initial line of work?
Yeah, so I'm a husband. I'm a father of two, and just the past year have transitioned out of the Navy after 21 years of service. So I enlisted in the Navy right out of high school. During my first tour, applied for a commissioning program, and about 3 years in, I got sent back to the University of Missouri to get my degree and my commission. And that's kind of where I bought my first property as a 22-year-old there. That's kind of where my real estate journey kind of started. And when I left there, went on, I was commissioned as a cryptologic warfare officer, spent a number of years in operational tours on submarines and ships, working for admiral staff at the aerospace data facility, and it even served as an exchange officer to the United Kingdom prior to my retirement last year.
Wow. That's pretty impressive. Well, congratulations on your retirement, and thank you for your service. Awesome.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Yep, absolutely. Well, yeah. And what, Marcus, what line of work did you transition into then coming out of the Navy? Did you say you started earlier when you were went back to school to work on your commission, getting into real estate? So I assume it's something that branched off of that.
It is, yes. So during my military career and stuff, I invested a lot like in single family, mostly like long-term rental. A lot of those being back in Missouri where I had grown up in that area, and some in Kansas City and things. And as I got closer to my retirement, I started doing some private lending and passively investing in multifamily and stuff myself. And as a lot of my investments earlier in my career had been kind of opportunistic. I didn't know a lot of intentionality or strategy behind it. And I knew I didn't really want to move into a 9-to-5 or W-2 after I transitioned out of the military. And so as I kind of like looked at real estate and the strategies, that are available to us, I really had enjoyed multifamily and, the impacts that we could have for the residents, as well as being able to share some of these opportunities and stuff with my network, largely in the military. And so a couple of years prior to transitioning out, I started, as a general partner and stuff in some multifamily syndications and stuff as well. And now that's what I'm doing full time.
Very cool. Very cool.
Great. Yeah.
What? So are the properties in and around the Kansas City metro, or are they kind of in different locations?
Yeah, so I have some smaller stuff left here in Kansas City still, but as far as the multifamily, a couple of places in Texas, but primarily our portfolio is in Tulsa at the moment. About a little over half of our portfolio, and it's about 3.5 hours or so from where I physically live.
Okay. Yeah, it's drivable, not too bad. So what size are they? Are they are they 20s? Are they hundreds? What size are the apartments? Are
and most of our properties range between 75 to 125 units.
Okay. Gotcha. Nice size for some operational efficiencies. So Marcus, maybe back to your school days when you were working on your commission and your degree, or perhaps just in your general Navy days. Is there a funny story you could share?
Yeah, I mean, after 2 decades in the military, I'm sure there's a bunch of funny stories we could probably dig out, stuff. But one I share now, it's wasn't really funny at the time. It's a little funnier looking back on it and stuff. But it was following my commissioning and stuff. I was stationed out of Hawaii, and I was supporting some submarine missions. And I had embarked on a submarine in Japan, and we went off to do a mission. And a couple of days later, the cooks went to break out the ingredients for the next day's food, and they couldn't find all the ingredients. And so the commanding officer had a suspicion that perhaps our food inventory wasn't accurate. And so we inventoried the food on the sub, and we had far less than what was expected. And so we spent the better part of those 55 days on that mission on rations, not eating a whole lot. For a guy that's 100 40 some pounds. I didn't have a lot to lose, but I'm not a big popcorn fan myself, but there was plenty of popcorn on the submarine. So every night they would, empty a sea bag of popcorn on the mess decks, and I ate a lot of popcorn during those couple months. So wasn't too funny then. A little bit funny looking back at it now.
Oh my God, that's a big oops when you're, because the sub just doesn't pop into a port to, refuel. You're definitely down there for a good while.
That's right. Yeah, the commanding officer wasn't about to say, he'd made a mistake and we're heading back to port. We're gonna make do until the mission was over. So
right. Oh man, wow.
Well, Marcus, as you look back to your transition there out of the military into full-time real estate syndication, what was it a kind of deciding factor? You see, you dabbled in all along, you had some familiarity. Was there something that made you go like multifamily in particular versus other commercial real estate? Or how did that come about?
Yeah, so I think even before I chose to specifically go into multifamily a couple of years prior, the deciding factor on transitioning at the time that I did had a lot to do with my family, and I now have a 9 and almost a 6-year-old. At the time, my 9-year-old was, maybe 3-4-ish, and my son had just been born. And I'd been working a lot of, operational tours, and even those that were shore-based tours, like some pretty long hours. And I've told this story a couple times before where I came home from work one day and it was like 3:00 in the afternoon. And my daughter, was kind of like, "Daddy, what are you doing home?" And I was like, "Well, come spend some time with you guys." And she's like, "Yeah, but it's still light outside." And that was a kind of a gut punch for me, and I knew that up until that point, I had done everything to continue to promote and keep that, option open. And I knew pretty quickly that I wanted to change paths in the near future. And I had to kind of change the environment and, kind of leave the military complex, if you will, and stuff. And so that's when I really started deciding to switch paths. And, kind of I had like one more 3-year tour remaining, a little bit left in that one. So I probably had like 4 years left to do it. And I kind of wanted to, went on a little bit of a journey to figure out, like I said earlier, a lot of what I had done was opportunistic, and started looking at some ways to be more strategic and intentional about what I was going to do. And through some of my own passive investments and some of the network that I was around, like I said, I really enjoyed the teamwork required to do multifamily. It's like, a lot of teamwork and purpose and stuff in the military, and that part transitioned. I really enjoyed the impact of like the scale of the impact that we could have for the residents, in our places and stuff, versus, single family. And as well as like through most of that, I had been doing a lot of my own stuff, or maybe partnered with my brothers, but I'd never really provided opportunities to other investors. And when having done passively myself, I saw the opportunity for me to share that with a lot of my network in the military who were still active, still working a lot, maybe didn't have the time or desire to learn all of the ins and outs of being an active real estate investor to share with them. So those were kind of some of the deciding factors that kind of led me to multifamily.
Nice. And Marcus, you mentioned it twice now already, and I want to pick up on that real quick. And that is the concept that improving the properties. And that is a big driver for us. We run a value add strategy when we buy apartment buildings. And one of the things that, we always say we have three missions. First is protect our investor money. Second is to make our investors money. And third is to leave the properties better than when we found them. And we have that's what we do consistently. We do exterior improvements, interior improvements. And the view that we've always had is that these are people's homes. This is where people live. Right. We want to give them a quality product. Again, it doesn't mean they're going to get everything they want. They may want the super fancy whatever, but that doesn't necessarily mean. But of course, we're going to give them a quality place to live, and and part of our approach is to improve the properties. We've literally had multiple residents on multiple properties say, I was moving out of here, but you guys are improving this place. You're doing some good around here. You're making this a nicer neighborhood, a nicer domicile, nicer whatever for us to live. I want to stay. And I'm like, that's a huge compliment, and we love hearing that kind of thing. So
that's awesome. Yeah, I think that we take it very important into consideration when we're looking at our business plan and stuff of what we're going to do, from the very beginning. And when we acquire a property, we always, send out a survey to the residents and stuff, and kind of see. Sometimes we put a few things like, "Hey, here are some ideas that we might do," and let them write in some others what they might like to see. And as you said, they may or may not get exactly what they want. It might not be feasible. It might not be the best use of investors' money, but to try to give them some buy-in and feedback on what they want at the property, we try to have resident events and stuff. If there's a lot of families and stuff there, where we'll do like a back to school night and give away some backpacks or something, and try to build community and not just like a roof over their heads. And in addition to some of the value add stuff, like when we're looking at putting washer and dryers in unit or something, even if there's a laundry facility, they would rather spend time with their family inside their home, or be able to put their laundry in and go do something versus spend it in the laundry facility. So we really look at how we can do that in a lot of different ways.
That makes total sense. So good deal. So Marcus, as you were really driving and shifting toward the full-time multifamily side, and again, more intentional, as you said, were there initially some obstacles you had to overcome?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of obstacles along the way. I think that, one worth sharing is that, I kind of mentioned a lot earlier than probably most people would have my intention to retire or transition out of the military. A lot of people will kind of hold that close to them as long as possible because, it might impact your physical or evaluations, not your physical, but like fitness evaluations. And I had kind of made my intentions pretty clear a few years before, I was eligible that, I intended to do that. And, I got a lot of pushback sometimes from superiors or even some of my peers, comments like, everyone should want to, promote to the next rank. That should be everyone's goal, right? Or, sometimes peers would ask like, haven't you looked at the pay charts and stuff? If you make it to the next rank, it's an extra $1,000 a month for the rest of your life type of thing. And so I think that, the mental like resiliency of knowing that, my goal isn't necessarily to chase the title of the next pay grade, right? There's a priority in my life, family, or whatever else that might be not the same as, someone else's, or perhaps like, yes, I have done the math, and the path that I am taking, you are limited to the pay scale of $1,000 extra a month. And maybe I have the opportunity to grow that significantly higher or whatever it is. Right. Mm-hmm. And so I think just the mental resiliency to know that I had a plan, and sometimes with no disrespect to any of my military brothers and sisters, but, staying in the military can be the easy path, right? If you've been in for that long, not getting out and writing a resume or doing job interviews or whatever that might be, or maybe it's just the safe, not being an entrepreneur. And so I think that was a big obstacle along the journey.
Yeah, my father-in-law, as I said, was off camera, was Air Force, and I always heard that the last decision you make in the military is whether to join or not. So from that point forward, you're told where to go. So, but yeah. So and obviously, it's awesome that you took that into account in terms of just sort of your family and what was going to be the potential for you to earn income. You're right. If you're on a W-2, you're limited in terms of your income. If you're not on a W-2, yes, perhaps it's definitely not for everybody. There's definitely, it's, maybe not having that monthly paycheck or bi-weekly paycheck coming in is scary to people. And I certainly get that, but at the same point in time, your income is unlimited. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Well, Marcus, as you transition, can you look back and remember like one of your first victories you had in the real estate transition that kind of solidified the fact that this is the right path and it's an achievable goal for me?
Yeah. I think that one of the things that really kind of hits home for me on that is when we acquired our first large multifamily. So about 2 years ago, we closed a 100-unit property in Tulsa. Mm-hmm. And outside of a couple, single family kind of flips or burrs and things where I had done some private lending and stuff, or had used private lending from others, that was really the first opportunity that I had provided to my network. And when we successfully closed that, I'd spent many months prior to that, working with my network, like educating them and so they understood this like new strategy that I was, not new strategy, but new to me strategy that I was working on. And when we closed that property, like that was a kind of eye-opening to me. I have a lot of educators in my family, like, in schools and stuff. I never have been one, but I got a lot of fulfillment from, spending that time with my friends and my network and educating them on this. I hadn't heard about syndications and stuff until late into, after I'd owned single family for many years. And so I assumed that many of my network probably hadn't either. And so that was really fulfilling for me to do that. And it kind of opened my eyes that, hey, there's a lot of my network that wants this, right? They want this opportunity, and to be able to diversify, or they wanted exposure to real estate, but didn't have, like I said earlier, that maybe they're still in active duty and didn't have the time. And so I think that first deal was a pretty big victory and gave me a lot of confidence, to go on and do 6 or 7 or more over the last couple of years.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. And like I said, you proved the concept, right? You've taken all the way through from a concept, you've read other people do it, and you've done it yourself. And then at that point, it, builds a confidence and also, increases your credibility with your network, right? They've,
Right.
your second one, I'm sure, was easier to raise for than your first one, and subsequently got easier as you became known from your prior career, became known to being a syndicator full time.
Right. Yeah, it absolutely takes, as you mentioned there, no matter where we're starting from or whatever, changing that identity, right? Like for 20 some years, seen as, a military officer or whatever. And so for people to kind of change that identity to know what you're doing.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, that's great.
Marcus, more in your more recent days as a real estate, apartment syndicator, GP, running these deals, et cetera, is there a funny story you can share?
Yeah. So, I bring my kids kind of back into this one, I guess, and stuff. And I share with my kids a lot. Like I said, they're 9, almost 6. And I want to kind of bring them on the journey with me. I try to, share with them about like money, financial type stuff and, investment and things so that they kind of learn as they go. And for the first couple of years that I was a general partner on syndications, I was still living in England. My final duty station was in England. I was doing this kind of like long distance, and they saw me doing behind a computer or on a phone a lot. It was kind of hard to be the man on the ground quite a bit. And so more recently, after we moved back to the US last fall, I kind of asking my daughter, if she has interest in real estate and things like that. And she kind of like, I don't know. Real estate seems kind of boring. You're always on a computer or phone or something, right? So she wasn't buying it. But so I've tried, since we've been back here, I've taken them down to Tulsa with me when we've gone down to do some due diligence, or she went to Nashville with me recently when I was speaking at an event and got to see some of the other like motivational speakers there. And she's even asked to hop on it. I use Active Campaign a lot for CRM and stuff. And she's, created some email stuff for me, which she really likes to, she enjoys. And sometimes that takes me a little bit longer to, kind of teach her how to do it and stuff, but trying to expose her to some of these, other things. So the real estate's a little bit more fun than just, sitting behind a computer on the phone that she perceived it to be, which there is a lot of it, but.
Of course, but at some point in time, that's you involving your kids early and to help teach them not only about money, but about, financial futures as well as what you do. That's very cool. Get them working early. So nice.
That's right.
Absolutely. Well, Marcus, where are you today on your journey? Where's your 3-year, 5-year plan? What's your outlook?
Yeah. So, we've been, I've been about 2.5, 3 years since I transitioned over to, kind of targeting to be a general partner. It's been about 2 years since 2 years, July, actually, since we closed our first multifamily. We have just about 7, 8 transactions and just shy of 600 units right now. And it's really been fulfilling to me. I have some phenomenal partners that, are very good with some of the deal flow, very good with asset management. They are really on board with that vision as we talk about of, having that impact for the residents and stuff. And allows me to really focus a lot of time with my network and doing that education piece, which I have, like I said, very fulfilling to me. And with the age of my kids also gives me a lot of flexibility. I go help with, due diligence and be the man on the ground when needed. But, with the great partners I have, it's been phenomenal, like teamwork, and has allowed me to, I really like the trajectory. I'm also doing some coaching within another mastermind, helping some other investors and stuff. And so, being able to spend the time with my kids and help others, overcome some limiting beliefs. I think we're on a pretty good path at the moment.
Nice.
Yeah, that's great. We talk about this all the time, that it's, it really is a team sport. You get the multifamily. There's just so many parts of it. We're not really in the real estate business, more in the relationship business, whether it be with your, like you said, educating your investors, your network, other partners, all that. It's truly relationship driven, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep,
well, Marcus, is there anything that you do personally, or perhaps through your business, that you can share, that in a way to give back to help others in some fashion?
Yeah. So, I've mentioned a couple of these a little bit, like complete trajectory, try to really keep the residents in mind. We've talked about the impact that we try to have for them and to give back to them. More recently, over the past couple of years, I've also had the opportunity to coach some newer real estate investors and stuff. And particularly, like I said, overcoming limiting beliefs around raising capital and things, talking to them about building awareness and educating and leading with, giving the value and stuff. So those are a couple of ways, both for residents and, I feel like giving back to my network, as I said, probably about 75% of my investors are either active duty or somehow DoD related. Maybe they've retired.
Nice.
And so, that's a lot of my network, and trying to give back to them by bringing these opportunities to them. And we have, certainly also try to give some of our profits and stuff to a variety of charities and stuff that are, near and dear to our heart and stuff as well. So we try to give back in a lot of ways.
Nice.
That's great. Yeah, Mark. So is there anything you've recently implemented in your business that's allowed you to scale, helped you achieve your goals?
Yeah. So I think that probably one of the things that has helped me the most is really, it's kind of more of a mental thing than any system or process, but it's really trying to lead with value. Right. And so whether I am doing that with my partners or with, my potential investors, and, when I think of my partners and stuff, whenever I, just show up and, and give more than what I promised to them every time. And, when you do that, I think you attract incredible partners and stuff too. Right. And by having those great partners allows me to, not be babysitting and watching over, making sure everything's good over here all the time. I can turn my focus and focus on my investors or whatever that might be at times as well. And with the investors, I think when you lead with value and educate, right, for that education, and sometimes what they're really understanding their goals, personally, family, financial, and how that does or does not align to what we are doing, and kind of having that fiduciary mindset, right? Maybe the opportunity that I have available doesn't align with, where they are in their journey or what they need at the moment. And I think when you lead with value, and sometimes I'll tell somebody that hey, this isn't the best opportunity for you. Perhaps, you should consider this, or maybe I can make a couple other introductions to you. And I think people really appreciate that. Right. And, maybe later on down the road when their goals and stuff do align with what we're offering, they come back or maybe not. But either way, going back to that giving back thing, I think we've been able to help educate and try to provide value to them and open their eyes to opportunities or, make connections that have those opportunities for them. So I think that's been a big thing for me, being able to scale over the past few years.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah. I love that, leading with value. That's a great way to look at things. And, there's certainly, Bill and I try to do that in everything we do as well, is really to add value to other people. Whether that be answering questions, whether that be doing something to help a resident, whether that be, whatever, teaching somebody or helping somebody learn, they may have a question about, it's still K1 time. So we wind up having, K1 questions come from investors that just don't understand. And honestly, it's the tax laws are quite a mystery in and of itself. So gotcha. So Marcus, is there, what advice would you share with somebody? What advice would you give with somebody who's considering making a path change, maybe go in a different direction from what they're doing now?
Yeah, I think, two quick things I would share with them is, number one is to surround yourself with others that are doing what you want to do. Right. So, depending on, certainly in real estate, there's a lot of masterminds and groups and things like that, depending on what that path change is. Like maybe you're not transitioning to real estate, maybe it's something else, but there's groups for a lot of things. So, whether it is a mastermind, whether it's a local, free network that gets together, whether you find a mentor or paid coach or whatever, find those people and, connect with them. Because I think, when we're at our W-2, sometimes they might be great people that we work with, but they don't necessarily all have the same ambitions or knowledge or things to make this path, to entrepreneurship or whatever that new path might be. And it can be difficult to talk and share and stuff like that whenever you feel a little bit isolated at times, right? Whenever everyone around you is doing the same thing. And you can read a ton of books and, you listen to these podcasts, digest a lot of stuff. Eventually you need to start having like conversations, right? Or the doing. And that's when a lot of the learning and stuff happens. And so, whatever path is right for you, I just, surround yourself with people that are doing what you want to do. And the other thing I would say is, one thing about that too is like understanding what that path looks like. Sometimes, as a general partner, as you guys know, there isn't necessarily a lot of cash flow early on or up front, right? It takes time for that to kind of start building. And so whether you start, doing some of those actions earlier, or whether you have prepared yourself, have reserves, have some other cash flowing things to make that like a smoother transition. Because, if you just say, hey, W-2, peace out, and I'm going to be a general partner, like you might be in for a little bit of a surprise, for a little while. And the one thing on that is I would just say kind of, maybe like perseverance or understanding, like how long sometimes that path takes. We all kind of want, instant gratification and stuff. And, when you are working in our examples, like to be a general partner, it takes a long time to, maybe to build the relationships with brokers, to educate and build relationships with potential investors, to really understand and learn how to underwrite and analyze properties, or to build a relationship with partners that can do that and stuff. And so it can take a while to have that. And, it takes a little bit of perseverance and understanding, when should I expect to have my breakthrough or something like that before just, giving up after 2 or 3 months.
Yeah, there isn't one formula. There isn't one path. I mean, Bill and I it took a while for us to get our first deal, but when we came out with that first deal, then we were able to put together the next deal, shortly thereafter. And, but you're right. It isn't, you don't just decide you want to go, be a general partner in a 100+ unit apartment complex and it happened next month. No, it's
right.
It doesn't necessarily take you 3 years, 2 years, or, maybe not even 1 year, but at the same point in time, there's a lot of people that are part of that. As we mentioned earlier, the team, you kind of have to have a team. It's not, even if you're just the person by yourself that's driving all the stuff, you still need a team in terms of your lawyers or your accountants, your insurance people, your lenders, your, whatever, your property manager, things like that. But in terms of just the people that are kind of sitting in the same chair you are as other GPs, I think you're right. That's where you start really helping things accelerate and pick up a little bit of speed. So, yeah. Nice.
Well, Mark, what's the best way for our listeners to reach you and learn more about what you have going on?
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate that. They can, go to alonglegacy.com. It's kind of a one-stop shop. You can shoot me an email, set up a time to call, my social media, all that kind of stuff is on there. And as I said, I really do get a lot of fulfillment and enjoy educating. So if there's something I've shared today, whether you want to dig more into it and stuff, feel free to reach out to me. It's alonglegacy.com.
Great. We'll add that in the show notes below. Well, Mark, I really want to thank you for being on the Road Less Traveled show today. Really enjoyed the conversation and want to wish you continued success in your future endeavors.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And again, really enjoyed the opportunity to share with your audience today.
Marcus, thank you for being on. It's been a great show. We certainly appreciate your time. We also want to thank our audience. Please continue to give us a 5-star rating so we can bring you more great shows like our show today with Marcus Long. And also we want to remind everybody of a couple important things that Park Capital Partners has going on. First, we have the Park Capital Partner Value Add Fund, which is a 506c fund open today to accredited investors. And next, we have the Park Capital Partners Foundation, which is a 501(c) nonprofit that Bill and I created. Is one of the other additional ways that we give back. The way that foundation works very quickly is, first of all, Bill and I believe so strongly that we want the money donated to go to do its best work, which is to help others, that we actually fund the operations of the foundation. Second, we donate personally. Third, we donate corporately. And when investors invest with us in one of our projects, we make a donation to honor that investor to a pre-selected list of 15 different charities, including Wounded Warrior. So please reach out to Bill and myself, Park Capital Partners LLC, Park Capital Partners LLC. We'd love to talk with you. Love to see how we can work together. And we certainly appreciate everybody joining us. And remember, folks, the road less traveled would be calling you. We recommend that you listen and take action. Thanks for joining.